Welcome to this 20th day of Lent. Our scripture reading for this day comes from Deuteronomy, chapter 24, verse 14. The author writes, "You shall not withhold the wages of poor and needy laborers, whether other Israelites or aliens who reside in your land in one of your towns." The author of Deuteronomy is demanding that we treat all people the same, Israelites and foreigners alike, all as one people. He's telling us to not divide, to not build a fence between us. Fences have been in the news the last several years, trying to build a fence to keep some out. There's a saying that says, good fences make good neighbors. And there's truth to that. It's kind of a boundary thing. We know where to greet each other, when to knock before entering, so to speak. But at the same time, when we build a fence to keep the other out, then perhaps a fence is not the best idea. Fences historically have never proven to be good when it comes to those kind of things of drawing us together, not to divide. And in God's eyes, there is no us and them. There's only we, all of us. We're all in this together. God doesn't differentiate. God doesn't draw a boundary between Canada and the US, for example. In God's eyes, there is no boundary. There's only us. I can't help but think of, in this time of pandemic, the idea of who is us and who is them. I picture some who have the wherewithal to be able to spend thousands of dollars in buying products en masse, hand sanitizers and wipes, for example. Spending thousands of dollars to resell them to others for thousands more. It's those who have the money, who are able to buy it, who sell it to those who may or may not be able to afford it, but we know they're buying out of desperation and they're buying out of fear. Deuteronomy specifically calls us to not be doing that. How do we move away from this us versus them thinking? I'm reminded of the story of the Protestant and the Catholic couple who were married a long, long time. Eventually, they both passed away, but they had to be buried in separate cemeteries, one in the Catholic cemetery and the other in the Protestant cemetery. A tall wall stood between them. The families, as they laid them to rest, they built their tombstones right along the wall, and they lifted up, and the top of each stone were hands reaching over, holding. So even in their passing, even through a wall, the love of them and the love of their families overcame that barrier. So perhaps we can think about that. How do we move away from us versus them thinking? How do we get to being the one people that God calls us to be? Let us leave us with that thought, and let us close in prayer. God most holy, we ask you to be with us in this time. Keep us from our fears. Help us to unite as one people in love and care and support for one another. Lift us up, hold us, and nurture us at this time. In your name, amen. The bell has rung. If you heard it in the background, it's time to close. Blessed a day to you. Amen.